Hello friends, my name is Baji. Welcome to our channel. This is episode number 11 in our performance testing must-have skills series. In this video, we will continue to discuss some of the performance testing core concepts. If you are watching this series for the first time, please watch previous episodes of this series and continue these concepts. You can find the link to this playlist series in the description. We will begin by discussing the topics covered in this video. We will explore the topic of selecting the right business use cases for PT. Here PT stands for performance testing. And then we will discuss the topic of the workload model. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into this video. This is one of the important concepts for performance testers to grasp during the requirement gathering process. So, how do we choose the right business use case for performance testing? Are there any particular factors we need to consider when choosing the business use cases? Let's find out. In functional testing, functional testers will test all the functionalities of the application. However, in performance testing, there is no such concept of 100% functional coverage of the application. To understand the reason behind this, let's discuss the Pareto's principle. Pareto's principle, written by Vilfredo Pareto, who is an Italian sociologist and economist. He wrote about it while teaching at the University of Lausanne. The principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of consequences come from 20% of causes. We can see this concept everywhere in our life. In general, we wear 20% of clothes 80% of the time. We wear 20% of the shoes 80% of the time. Even in our exams, 80% of the questions will come from the 20% of the topics. If you take any popular YouTube channel, you can see 20% of the videos may generate 80% of the views and subscribers. This principle shows up over and over again in almost every field. This principle also referred as 80-20 rule. In performance testing, we follow this principle to identify the business use cases. If we translate this principle into performance testing, we can say that 80% of the performance issues are bottlenecks caused by the 20% of its use cases. So, performance testing team will apply Pareto's principle to identify the critical business use cases. To identify the business use cases using Pareto's principle, they follow certain criteria. Let's look at them now. They consider the frequently executed business use cases. In other words, these are the business use cases that customers or clients will use almost daily and with high frequency. Some of the use cases are business critical. Even though they are not executed so frequently, they are very crucial for business. Any problem with these use cases could severely impact the business. Certain use cases within the application demand significant resources. In other words, they consume a substantial amount of resources when in operation. To understand more about these criteria, let's consider online banking application as an example. Now let's look at various use cases of an online banking application. Broadly speaking, there are many business use cases for online banking application. For the sake of our discussion, I have selected a few of them. The first one is login. To use any of the application use cases, users first need to log into the application. Post login, users typically check their account summaries to review their balances, isn't it? Depending on the requirements, user may transfer funds between different accounts. Additionally, regular bill payments such as credit card bills are made through the application, right? In the application, users also have the option to modify their login credentials, including usernames and passwords. Users can edit their details within the application to maintain accurate records. When necessary, users can open new accounts such as savings or fixed deposit through the application. Requests for new cards or checkbooks can also be made using the application. In certain situations, users may need to retrieve past transactions spanning from the last month to several years. The application also supports bulk transactions, often referred to as batch processing, when multiple transactions are processed simultaneously. Once users have completed their task, they can securely log out from the application. These are some of the use cases of online banking application. Now let's categorize these uses in our business use cases criteria. Our initial criteria is frequently executed. Within this criteria, we focus on use cases frequently accessed by the customers or end users. In our online banking application, which specific use cases do you believe fit within this criteria? Login, account summary, transfer funds, bill payments, and logout use cases can be considered in this criteria because these are the use cases end users will use frequently. Let's look at some of the use cases that are not frequently executed and not considered for performance testing. These are very rarely executed and are not critical. Therefore, they are not considered for performance testing. So, what are those use cases from our example? Change username, password, contact info, new checkbook requests, or debit card requests are not frequently executed scenarios. In general, very rare users change their username, password, and contact info, isn't it? Also, they won't request checkbooks and debit cards every now and then, right? As a result, these scenarios are not considered critical for performance testing. Next criteria is business critical. These are the use cases that are critical to business. If we had any issues with these use cases, it may create a severe impact to the business. Hence, they are business critical. Let's look at the business critical use cases from our example. Opening new accounts, be it a savings account or a fixed deposit, is a crucial for the business success. If there are issues during the account opening process, we risk losing customers. Essentially, losing customers equal to losing business, right? The next criteria is resource intensive. These use cases are not utilized frequently by users. However, when they are used, they significantly consume server resources. Let's look at those use cases. Retrieving last 6 years transactions. In some scenarios, users would like to review their transaction history whether it is last 6 months or 6 years. This particular scenario isn't executed frequently. However, when it is, it consumes a significant amount of server resources. Similarly, batch processing is a process to process bulk transactions at the same time, like payroll processing, dividend payouts, etc. Processing bulk transactions may also take a lot of server resources. I hope now you have a clear understanding of how to select appropriate business use cases for performance testing. Please feel free to mention if anything is not clear. Now let's discuss the topic of workload model. So what is a workload? It can be defined as all types of inputs from users to the system. These inputs can be a command or program or anything. Based on the definition, we can define the workload as two types. Real workload. These are the actual inputs from real users in production environment. Synthetic workload. These are the inputs from performance testing tools based out of real inputs from the production environment. Since these inputs are received from testing tools, those can be controlled. Regardless of whether you are dealing with web applications, mobile applications, or any other type of application, they can fall into two categories. New application. This application is not deployed in production environment and users have not yet started utilizing this application. Existing application. This application has been deployed in the production environment and currently being utilized by various customers. They follow different strategies to develop workload model for both new and existing applications. Let's look at them now. In the case of new application, there are no data trends available since application has not been deployed in production and no users have interacted with it yet. In such situations, they will have discussions with business users, analysts, or client stakeholders to understand the application workload, like how many users will use this application or how many transactions will they do in a given peak hour and many more. In some situations, they might require multiple meetings to collect all the necessary data for developing the workload model. In case of existing applications, they will gather the required data from production environment for developing the workload model. Once the data is collected, they will analyze the traffic patterns of end users. There are multiple ways available to conduct this analysis of end user traffic pattern: web analytic tools and weblog analysis. Using web analytics tools, they collect the data on how users arrive at the application and what they do after arriving at it. There are several web analytics tools available in the market, and Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics are just two examples. To capture the end user related metrics of a website, these product teams will provide a small piece of JavaScript measurement code that need to add to each page on the website. Every time a user visits a web page, the tracking code will collect the information about how that user interacted with that page. The second approach is conducting weblog analysis. Today, a variety of web servers are available in the market, including Apache HTTP Server, Nginx, Apache Tomcat, IIS, and more. Performance testers collect logs from the web servers and analyze them to understand the user interactions with the application. They do the analysis using the log analyzer tools like Datadog, Splunk, and Elasticsearch. So you might be wondering about the specific types of data we should collect from these two approaches to develop the workload model, right? Let's look at them now. We should collect number of visits to the application, including unique visits. This helps us to understand the ratio of new users to the existing one accessing the application. We should also gather peak user traffic on monthly or daily and hourly basis. This provides insight into maximum concurrency levels experienced by the application. We should collect the number of transactions during peak traffic periods. This informs us about the transaction volumes during high traffic times. We should also gather the metrics on the most frequently viewed pages. Understanding the most popular features guides our focus during performance testing. We should also capture the HTTP error trends such as HTTP 500, 404, and 401. These errors shed light on existing issues within the application. We should also gather the geographic data. Gathering the geographic user distribution data helps us to understand the global user base of the application. We should also capture the browsers and OS related information. Capturing information about the browsers and operating systems used by users help us to understand the existing compatibility and optimal user experience. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for staying till the end and supporting me. I hope you understood all the concept in this video. In case any specific concept is not clear or requires more detailed information, please feel free to mention it in the comment section. All the video notes have been uploaded in the GitHub and you can find the link in the description. If you are new to our channel, please consider subscribing and also like and share this video so that others will also get benefited. I'll see you with our next video in module number 4. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep learning.